The US is dramatically escalating pressure on its allies, ordering a trade halt with Spain and launching fresh strikes on Iran, even as it offers Ukraine new military capability. Good morning, and welcome to the Morning Brief. Today is Thursday, 9th July 2026. I'm Neil, and in the next few minutes, I'll take you from Ireland, across to Britain, and out into the wider world. Everything you need to know before the day begins. World. Our first story comes from Washington and the broader transatlantic relationship. President Trump has ordered a complete cessation of US trade with Spain, citing what he sees as insufficient NATO defense spending and disputes over Iran policy. This is a significant escalation. It signals that American trade relationships are now explicitly tied to geopolitical and military demands, and that even long-standing European allies aren't exempt from sudden economic punishment. For Ireland, this matters because it demonstrates just how unpredictable US trade policy has become. If the world's largest economy can suddenly halt trade with a fellow NATO member, Irish exporters and businesses operating in American markets face a new layer of uncertainty, and so do our EU trading partners. And that unpredictability extends into the Middle East. The United States has launched fresh military strikes on Iran, with explosions reported across the southern regions of the country. President Trump has framed this as retaliation for Iranian attacks on shipping. Iran, in turn, has already promised strong retaliation, a pledge that could escalate this cycle further and faster than anyone anticipated. Why does this matter on this side of the Irish Sea? Because escalating US-Iran military conflict directly threatens global shipping routes and international trade. Irish importers and exporters depend on stable maritime corridors. Disruption there ripples outward, affecting prices at home, supply chains, and energy markets we all depend on. In a different theatre entirely, President Trump has announced a significant shift in military support for Ukraine. The United States will now permit Ukraine to manufacture Patriot missile interceptors domestically, dramatically boosting its air defense capability against Russian attacks. This is a notable change in policy, moving from supplying finished weapons to enabling Ukrainian domestic production capacity. And the Irish angle. This decision affects the entire trajectory of the Ukraine-Russia conflict, which in turn shapes EU security strategy, energy stability, and defence spending right across Europe. Ireland's position within the European Union means these conflicts at Europe's edge directly influence our own strategic decisions and economic resilience. That decision has already drawn a sharp response from Moscow. Russia has formally denounced decisions made at the NATO summit in Ankara regarding increased military aid to Ukraine and strengthened defence postures across the alliance. The denunciation underscores how deeply divided the world has become, NATO moving one way, Russia moving firmly in the opposite direction, with no signs of reconciliation. Closer to home, that deepening rift between NATO and Russia directly affects Ireland's position within European security architecture. As the EU formulates its own strategic responses and defence initiatives, Ireland must consider how those decisions influence our neutrality, our relationships, and our long-term economic security within a fractured continent. UK. From the UK this morning, the Home Secretary is moving quickly on criminal justice. Shabana Mahmood is expected to amend the 1971 Immigration Act to enable the deportation of Shabir Ahmed, the ringleader of the Rochdale grooming gang. Legal loopholes have previously prevented his removal from the country despite his conviction. This amendment aims to close those loopholes and allow the deportation to proceed. For Ireland, this matters because changes to UK immigration law often have cross-border implications, particularly for extradition agreements, legal cooperation, and how both jurisdictions handle serious criminal cases involving citizens of the other state. energy security is becoming an urgent issue in British politics. Adura, the operator of the North Sea Jackdaw gas field, is publicly urging the UK government to approve production immediately. The company is warning that without approval, Britain could face domestic gas supply shortages this winter. The approval decision has become something of a political flashpoint, balancing energy security against environmental concerns. Here at home, that means Irish households and businesses should pay close attention. The UK and Ireland are connected by gas interconnectors. What happens to British energy supply directly affects Irish energy prices and availability. If the UK faces winter shortages, Irish consumers could feel the pressure too. A major government review has concluded that the British disability benefits system is fundamentally broken. The interim TIMS review of personal independence payments has found the system is not fit for purpose and requires what the report describes as bold and radical overhaul. The problems are described as systematic and deep-rooted. Significant reforms are expected to follow. The knock-on effect for Irish households? Irish citizens working or living in the UK depend on these benefits, and Irish policymakers often study UK welfare reforms to inform their own social policy. Major changes in how Britain supports disabled people could reshape how Ireland thinks about its own systems. Ireland. And we close at home in Ireland. Gardaí have launched a murder investigation following the death of Jamie Carney, a 43-year-old healthcare worker from New York State. Her body was discovered in a house in Killarney, County Kerry. Detectives believe she may have been killed in a fit of jealous rage, and the suspected attacker may have had a 12-hour head start before alarm was raised. This is a serious criminal investigation that raises urgent questions about women's safety and the need for vigilant policing in Irish communities. The case has prompted renewed discussion about how we protect vulnerable people and respond swiftly when violence occurs. In the public sector, industrial action is looming on the horizon. Trade union Unite has announced that it will ballot public sector members for industrial action following the government's failure to table a meaningful pay offer. The previous public sector pay agreement has expired, and thousands of workers across healthcare, education, and other essential services are preparing to consider strike action. This directly affects employment, wages, and public services that depend on those workers. If industrial action proceeds, the impact on healthcare, education, and other essential services could be substantial and immediate for families across the country. RTE is now looking ahead to its next funding cycle. The national broadcaster is preparing to seek another round of state funding from the government as its current 3-year €725 million package draws to a close. The corporation is expected to seek a similar funding commitment to that agreed in 2024. This raises important questions about how Ireland funds a major national institution, what licence fee holders can expect, and what the future of public broadcasting looks like in an increasingly fragmented media landscape. The Department of Health has launched a new women's health plan, even as figures reveal the scale of reproductive healthcare in Ireland today. Nearly 10,500 abortions were recorded in Ireland in the previous year. The new plan includes expansions to the contraception scheme and specialist services for endometriosis sufferers. It aims to improve access to reproductive and women's health services right across the country. This represents a significant commitment to women's healthcare and reproductive rights, acknowledging both the demand for these services and the government's intention to expand access and specialist support. And that's the morning brief for today. Whatever the day brings, take it steady. I'm Neil. I'll be back tomorrow morning. Until then, look after yourself.